My name is Erin Holland, and I am the Digital Teaching and Learning Facilitator at Swansboro Middle School and Swansboro High School here in Onslow County. Each of our presenters today represents a different school or department within Onslow County Schools, and they will all be sharing a little bit of their remote learning story, specifically how they are staying connected with their students to meet social and emotional needs as well as academic. And they will also share strategies and resources that hopefully you can use to do the same. There will be time at the very end of the webinar today for questions and answers. But if you do have questions during each presentation, we would ask that you please utilize the chat to post any question you have, and we will try to get that answered for you. So for those of you just joining us, this is just a little reminder. If you are an attendee, please make sure your camera is turned off and that your mic is muted, so that we can make sure the attention is focused on the presenters. So again, make sure your camera is off if you're an attendee and that your mic is muted. So just a bit of background, if you are joining us from outside of Onslow County, we received the announcements to close schools on Friday, March 13th. Monday the 16th was originally scheduled for us as a teacher workday. Onslow County Schools changed that Tuesday to be another teacher workday, and then we went remote on Wednesday, March 18th. So we've just completed 7 full weeks of virtual instruction. Here in Onslow County Schools, we are one-to-one grades 3-12 with Dell laptops, and we were already using Microsoft solutions for several years before learning from home began. So before remote, most of our teachers had been utilizing Microsoft Teams, but in these last 7 weeks, they have been having live classes with students. As a district, we do have cameras disabled for the students while they're in Microsoft Teams. So part of our purpose of the social emotional learning webinar was because our teachers were feeling a little bit of a disconnect from their students, since the student can see the teacher, but the teacher cannot see the student during those live calls. So between that and then the announcement a few weeks ago that we would not return to school this school year, we know that everybody's feeling that pain a little bit, missing that face-to-face interaction. And we know that students might be feeling a little less and less connected to their school community. So since this month is Mental Health Month, we wanted to focus on connecting with the whole child during remote learning. Again, there will be time at the end of the webinar for Q&A, but if you have questions during each presentation, you can utilize the chat to post those. If you are an attendee, please make sure that your camera is turned off and that your mic is muted. And let's give all of our attention to our first presenter, Mrs. Brittany Norman. She is the Military Transition Counselor for Onslow County Schools.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon and happy Thursday. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Erin, for the warm welcome. And so I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. All right. So welcome to what I like to call the SEL experience. Again, as Erin mentioned, we're going to talk about some SEL strategies, maybe some tips and some tricks for you to foster some social and emotional learning with your students while learning remotely. But I wouldn't be a school counselor if I did not ask that we participate in a quick, fun activity. So to honor Mental Health Month, I want to do a quick check-in. How are you doing? Not how are your students doing right now, not how you were feeling this morning, not how you're going to be feeling after this, but in this very moment, how are you doing? I want you to utilize the chat and find an emoji that best describes how you're feeling. And Erin, if you don't mind, kind of just share out some of the emojis that you may be getting.
Yes, ma'am. I'm seeing some happy ones right now, so that is great.
Yes.
I see a smiling sunshine from Miss Ardito.
Very nice.
And a huge smile from Miss Day.
Awesome.
Ooh, lots more smiles, a winky face coming through.
Good stuff. And don't feel bad if you're not feeling that great today. It's totally fine, right? We like to act as superheroes, but we're humans, right? So even if you may be irritated, perhaps a little upset, down, that's okay. Anxiety, it's okay to feel anxious right now. Totally fine. You may even need some support. That's okay too. Any others, Erin?
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of maybe like straight line mouth emojis. I'm not sure what that one's called.
And if we look at the chart, I think like the straight mouth, you just might be feeling all right, you know, a little indifferent, not too, you know, not too great, not bad, but you know, just right, meh, like right in the middle. So yes, thank you guys so much. And you can certainly keep them going, but for the sake of time, I'm going to move on. Thank you, Erin. And so let's talk about SEL for a minute. What is social and emotional learning? Now, I have the definition there for you, but in a nutshell, social and emotional learning is all about teachers and students being able to recognize, manage, and understand their emotions. So if we take a look at this graphic here, we'll see that social and emotional learning is at the core, but that self-awareness, right? So understanding what these feelings are, being able to put a name with those feelings, being able to manage those feelings, right? So what to do when I feel this way. Social awareness, how to recognize these feelings, not just in yourself, but within other people as well. How to foster some of those relationships. And more importantly, we want them to be able to utilize these feelings in making responsible decision making. So we can take a look at some of the supports surrounding SEL, and you'll see there's 3 layers of support. The first layer, which I like to think is probably one of the most important layers, is the classroom, right? So this is where my educators come in, and you guys can help continue to foster that social and emotional learning. One of the questions I get a lot is, okay, so what does that look like? What does SEL look like? I'm not a school counselor, right? So I like to go back and I like to think about that first week or so of school. You know, we're not really talking about instruction just yet. You're having those icebreakers, team builders, you're getting to know your students, you're putting your processes and procedures in place. And again, this is before instruction hits. This is where you're just getting to know your students. That's what SEL looks like. But we all know what happens. Once we start driving that instruction train, we tend to get a little more focused on the content and leaving the context, which is totally normal. But SEL is all about fostering those relationships while delivering instruction. School counselors, a couple of times a few teachers have shared, they're like, well, isn't that my school counselor's job? And yes and no. The truth is, yes, school counselors have master's level training, and a huge part of it is focused on feelings. But are they solely responsible for delivering SEL to all the kids at your school? No. So who's responsible? Everybody, okay? I'm talking everybody from the principal all the way to the bus driver. Anybody that comes into contact with your students at any given point needs to know about SEL and how to foster those social and emotional skills. So why is SEL important? Take a look at this graphic. This is probably one of the most powerful graphics to me. As you can see, the student is struggling, right? Could someone help me with this? I'm trying to get to math class. And you see that the student is carrying a lot of baggage. And I want you to go back to, I think it was shared Monday the 13th, when the stay-at-home order went into effect, or maybe even when Brent called and said that school was closed. I want you to think about at least one student that came to your mind that at that very moment that you were immediately worried about, that you knew just in face-to-face interaction that came to your mind that was a concern is, oh my goodness, is this particular child gonna be okay given this new circumstance? I don't want you to share the student's name or anything like that, but I want you to think about that. And then also looking at the picture, they're in a school, right? You can tell by the lockers. You see another student. It looks like there's an educator there. Our world looks totally different. We haven't been in the building, and students haven't been in the building for 7 weeks now. So again, those factors and those barriers when it comes to asking for help looks really different for us right now. So let's talk about these two triangles here. So, of course, if you're an educator, you know all about Benjamin Bloom and his taxonomy and the levels of learning. But there is also another psychologist by the name of Maslow who developed the hierarchy of needs. Many of you may have seen this a time or two, but Maslow believed that none of these factors can really help a child reach their optimal level of self, which is that self-actualization. None of these they cannot get there without ensuring that these basic needs are met. So when we start talking about learning, these are directly correlated, right? So how a child develops within the hierarchy of needs is going to have a significant impact on how learning is embraced and achieved, right? So, and we're the same way. We've had to change our role to virtual instructional extraordinaires, right? But it's very hard for us to attain and learn new information if we're struggling in any of these areas here. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about these COVID challenges, right? So, and I believe Aaron did touch on this as well, but one of our biggest barriers is the fact that we can't see our students. I think one of the hardest things for me has been, with almost every teacher I've been talking to, school counselor, administrator, you name it, is I just want to lay eyes on my kid. I just want to see that they're okay. They're telling me they're okay, but I just want to see it for myself. And that's been a true barrier with the laptops, cameras being disabled. We know that 93% of communication is nonverbal, and it's so much easier when a child walks into your classroom and they have a frown or they're feeling down, they come in and put their head down. It's a much better indicator that something's going on, but you can't see that. So we're having to rely on that 7% of the communication that we do get. Another big challenge is for many of our students, schools are that safe haven, right? They are that place where there's routine, there is structure, and for many of our students, that's where those 2 meals a day comes from. Right. And I know school nutrition, our nutrition department is doing an excellent job of ensuring that we're getting meals to some of our kids and families, but still, they're still missing some of that structure and routine that they were getting in the schools. Schools also are that gracious space, right? There's that environment. There's nothing like going into a building where they're smiling at you, they're happy to see you, that positive energy, that love, those hugs. Some of our students may not be getting that at home. When we talk about the home environment, right? A lot of people feel like their students just aren't engaged. They're not speaking like they usually are, like what's going on. And I've heard a couple of stories where students are a little embarrassed. Perhaps their home environment is not optimal for a student environment. Perhaps there's a lot of background noise, TV, music, a crying sibling. Parents just talking loudly, maybe even yelling. So there are some feelings of shame and embarrassment and fear that come with speaking into a microphone, afraid that a teacher may overhear something that they don't want them to. Family dynamics. There could be shifts here. I want you to think about a student that you maybe weren't even worried about, right? The student in the nuclear family who both parents are working. You really weren't too worried about where they were getting meals and things like that from, but perhaps COVID has caused maybe one, or in some cases both families, to be without a job. Think about the stress and the impact that has on the family and how that could trickle down to the student. Another big fact is kids are wearing multiple hats just like we are, right? They're having to jump in and help out, whether that's feed or change a younger sibling, walk the dog, just helping out around the house, all while being a full-time student. And technology has been a bit of a challenge. Not too much per se, because of course we have IT there, but what about those unplanned factors? Like recently there was a service provider outage. No one sees that coming. What do, right? Think about the stress that invokes on you. Or if you're anything like me, you may have had to reset your router a few times, right? When you have too many wireless devices going on, sometimes things can kind of slow down. So what are some signs? What are some things that you can look for in your students, right? So anytime you see any kind of shift, a buddy of mine, she's an EC teacher, she always says, Britt, every behavior has a need. And so I always like to just remind myself of that. So anytime you see a shift, whether in grades, maybe in participation and attendance, they went from speaking and chatting more often and maybe not so much now, maybe even attendance, maybe they're not even logging in anymore at all. And the same way with assignments, maybe they've gone from turning them in regularly and on time to maybe slacking or not even turning them in at all. Behavioral shifts, right? So that lack of self-motivation. Now it's going to be hard to monitor the behavior shifts because of course you can't see them, but maybe you're doing check-ins and you see that they're not their fun, jovial self, or they just don't seem like themselves, right? Or maybe they just seem not engaged, maybe withdrawn or appearing distracted. Maybe they're logged on, but just really not communicating as actively as they used to. So what are some things we can do, right? Now that we talked about the problem, what are some things we can do? So routine check-ins, very simple, something very similar to what I did at the beginning of this. You can certainly create your own. It's very fun and interactive, and you're not asking the student to elaborate on how they're feeling, right? It's so much easier for them to just send you an emoji about how they're feeling, or there's a ton of other ones out there online. If this is something that you wanted to create and utilize daily, you can create a form and do it that way. Don't be afraid to talk about the big COVID elephant that is in our worlds everywhere right now. Certainly encourage your kids to just journal. Journaling is a great mindfulness exercise. You can create a discussion board post so that they can see that they're not alone in how they're feeling about some of those things. This is a great opportunity to encourage some service learning initiatives, right? So our kids want to be helpers. They're helpers by nature. What a great way to help students try to explore opportunities in which they can give back at such a time of need. They're coming up on summer. What are some things they can do during the summer to help serve their community, to contribute back to their area, right? So whether it's helping to collect fabric, to create masks, or maybe volunteering with some parents or older siblings to help deliver meals or deliver goods to those who are at risk and cannot come out. The possibilities are endless. Stress reduction and mindfulness practices, right? So each of these have a link to the resource. So belly breathing is great for our younger grades, but for 3 through 12, I love grounding exercises. Mindfulness 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's one of my go-tos, particularly when students are feeling very anxious. It's so easy to tell folks to just take a break that oftentimes I don't know that we all know what a break looks like. So there is a great resource here on how you can take a break and some things that you can do. More importantly, guys, please know that I don't expect for you to be SEL experts, but certainly there's nothing wrong with checking in with your kiddos to see how you're doing and how you're feeling. There's nothing wrong with disclosing that, hey, you know what, I've been feeling uneasy about this, or, you know, you're probably feeling this way right now, right? So what is the next school year going to look like? I'm sure you guys have all of these questions like we all do. But anytime you're talking to a student and something does not sit right with you or you grow concerned, please consult. Consult with your school counselor, consult with your school social worker. You know, just go with that instinct. Just say, hey, you know, they haven't really been feeling like themselves, whether you need resources or you want them to do a check-in, please just go with that. I'd much rather you follow your gut on this one. And lastly, I will never ask students to do anything that I'm not willing to do, and I certainly want you guys to do the same. Truth is, educators need social and emotional skills just like our kids do, right? So what does that look like? Y'all, COVID has really brought a roller coaster of emotions, right? Both good and bad. But it's important to give yourself permission to feel. Go through the motions. If you feel bad, that's okay. Don't sit in it, but explore, acknowledge, reflect on that, and give yourself some grace. Y'all, it's been a trying 7 weeks and counting, right? So again, give yourself permission to feel and go easy on yourself. I got a buddy of mine, she's a clinical social worker, and I asked her, I said, you know, what are some tips and tools that you would advise for teachers? She was like, tell them to double up on the self-care. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds easy. She's like, no. But to do it unapologetically. Don't do it without feeling shameful. Do it without feeling guilty. Be intentional about it. Purposely carve out that time for yourself. You deserve it. Of course, be mindful about it. I've also linked a great resource of distracting yet pleasurable activities for adults through GBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. And that's another mindfulness tactic. Wants you to stay in the moment and focus on healthy coping strategies. But certainly, guys, give yourself a little grace. Carve out some time for yourself. I certainly feel that my challenge for you is to carve out some time for self-care. If not today, maybe this weekend. As you start looking forward to the summer, create yourself a little summer self-care checklist, right? But find some time to really reflect. You got a lot of reflecting to do. It's been quite a year, but certainly look back and figure out things that you enjoy doing. And lastly, if you have any questions, I'm sure, like I said, if there's some in the chat, I'll get to that, but certainly don't hesitate to reach out to me. Certainly when it comes to your students, I highly recommend reaching out to your school counselor. They're typically loaded with resources that are age appropriate for your students. But if you have any for me, I'll certainly be happy to answer any of those that you may have. Erin, I'm going to toss it on back over to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Norman. And she is going to make these resources public. So she will share that out. So if you need to refer back or grab that link, that will be available to you. We're going to hold questions until our question and answer session at the very end, just to be respectful of everybody's time. So if you have questions, hang out with us until the end, or you could always post them in the chat and we will try to respond accordingly. Our next presenter is going to be Miss Kathy Darden, and Miss Darden is a 6th grade ELA teacher extraordinaire at Hunters Creek Middle School. And if you are one of our attendees, if you would please just make sure that your mics are muted during Ms. Darden's presentation and that your cameras are turned off. Thank you, Ms. Darden. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Ms. Norman. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Your time is valuable, and I hope you can take away several tips from today's webinar. I am going to share my screen. And at this time, if you would go to a platform, it is called Nearpod. Nearpod. And I'm going to launch a live code. And I won't go too fast. You can use your first and last name, or just your first name, last name, whatever you prefer. Just keep it school appropriate. We'll give you about 60 seconds. Nearpod, join nearpod.com. It is cell phone friendly too, so if you want to do it from a cell phone, you're welcome to do that as well. "30 seconds. "10 seconds. And Ms. Holland, if you see any glitches or anything on my end, please pause and let me know.
You got it.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. All right. Again, I'm just adding in some more tidbits about what we can do as teachers to lift spirits while we are remotely teaching and working with kids. As Aaron said earlier, I am from Hunters Creek Middle. This is my 23rd year in the classroom. I'm certified in language arts, AIG, social studies, and a Nearpod certified educator. All right, so I'm about to share some solutions for days when you are not live with your kids. Consider surveys or polls, and you can just Google these. I found a lot on Facebook, a lot on Instagram. Kids love food. We all love food. And so a great way to take attendance is to have them reply with their favorite food, favorite restaurant, favorite chips, which are the best chips. Also, their zodiac sign. The kids really get into it. I also had a topic one day for attendance. If there was a zombie apocalypse and you had to choose between your cat or your dog, who would you keep? It was an interesting day for attendance on that particular day. Again, I teach 6th grade students, and so you may need to tailor some of your ideas for your age group. But as long as it's fun, entertaining, uplifting, you'll have a lot of buy-in. Celebrate with your kids when it's their birthdays. Trust me, they will tell you, they will remind you. You can make good friends with your own Bitmoji on your cell phones. Take advantage of things that are right at your disposal. All right. Also, you can never give enough praise. And so what you're looking at right now is my attempt to have a student complete an assignment. And yes, he received a couple of reminders, but it's always to start the message off with "Good morning, Rockstar." Kids love accolades, they love praise, and that doesn't change because we're teaching from home. On certain birthdays, if they tell me in advance, I upload the Stevie Wonder happy birthday song and I share that with the students. Again, that's done on days when we don't have live instruction to maintain consistent attendance and participation. Okay. Again, just a quick recap for attendance boosters. I'm not going to read everything to you, but again, polls, foods, animals, inventions, favorite color, bragging, shout outs, endearments. Take advantage of your emails. All our kids have email accounts. Teams is wonderful. It is updating all the time with cool things. You can send out praise within Teams if you don't know how to do that. I'm sure your DLT is a rock star and they can show you. Remind 101, class tag, let your guard down. Send out Bitmojis to parents and kids. Let them know that we're all in this together. It's new for everybody. Don't forget birthdays. Always try and keep the birthday vibe alive. Number 3, find bold, eye color, eye-catching, colorful images in your presentations, in your posts, in your emails, wherever you can splash color, go overboard with it. Number 4, your own teacher communication matters a whole lot more, especially on the days when they don't get to hear your voice. So make sure your communication is engaging and that it solicits positive interactions. I know it can be draining to constantly remind, but take a breath, practice that deep breathing, and muster up the strength to send out something positive and engaging in your written communication. And then number 5, take advantage of PowerSchool, folks, especially the comment box. What I use it for more so now than ever, I include the actual assignment title. I also post the date that it was completed for your questionable kids that say they've done it, but they still haven't done it. It's always a good way to add that extra documentation. You can also praise within the comment box, and it just adds more teacher documentation and feedback to sustain that teacher, student, parent connection. So take advantage of the comment box in PowerSchool. All right, let's keep moving. All right, so we're going to get some ideas from you. And today's topic is, what's one benefit of teaching from home? Keep your responses school appropriate, teacher friends, and share your benefits below. So you want to come down and type in. There you go. We've got some folks on it. Thank you, Miss Mason. Wonderful. And you can certainly post more than one time. You can also click images. All right. Work from home, family time, snacks. Way to go, Miss Raina Britton. Way to go, Bennett Hart. Extra puppy snuggles. That's what I'm talking about. PJs. Yes. Very good. All right, Molly. Less interruptions. True that. All right. Short commute. You're funny, Miss Bell. Like it. Like it. Very good. Very good. All right. Keep it going, folks. You got 30 seconds. If you have not posted, what's one thing you love, appreciate, you're thankful for by teaching from home? Let's look for the positives. Look for the positive. Maxwell, cats, very good. Cats help with with class. All right, school rocks, time with family, time for exercise, puppies to keep you company. Awesome. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're going to keep it moving, rock stars. All right, so on days, again, when you are not live chatting or streaming with your kids, how do you keep them participating and engaged and not ghosting you? All right, here are some ideas. You can make sure you look to use the attendance boosters. Make sure that we use Padlet. And if you're not familiar with Padlet, we're going to show you some of those. Nearpod, which is what I'm using right now, is a great platform for student collaboration. The activity you just saw was an example of their collaboration. Newsela, if you're not taking advantage of that, you're able to customize writing prompts, which you can add your own teacher flair that's going to suit your kids. You can also give back discrete feedback. And number 4, which is throughout the entire county, you can tag students on those days to let them know that they're missing work. You can also reach out to them via email. Again, these are things that are right at your fingertips. Again, make sure your teacher communication is positive with your kids and your parents. Again, I can't say enough about the Power School box, comments box, especially if you're seeing a lot of zeros or incomplete work. It's a great way to always let kids know what their missing assignment is, because they stay up all night long, but Power School is open all night long as well, where we go to sleep. So it's a great way to use that comment box to its maximum potential. All right, so what you're looking at now is some of the artifacts from Padlet. And again, Padlet allows kids to put out their ideas, to express themselves. They can respond to a topic. And here are some of the student responses. I'll give you a few seconds to kind of skim it. And this response comes from a News ELA prompt. All right. And you can also, students also have the ability to rate. Again, that's going to foster involvement, engagement, buy-in. And here you're looking at another student's response. Okay. If you want to do other things besides give stars, you can also allow students to type a comment. We are working towards that. We're not there yet. We're in 6th grade. So we're doing really great with the stars right now. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, in News ELA, you can customize your writing prompts. This is delicious. Okay. And the kids can really get a sense of communicating back and forth to you in their writing. All right. And this is the golden egg. This is Power School. So what I was saying earlier, if it didn't jive with you, anytime you put in an assignment, you can also put in a comment. And so what I do is I list the assignment's name as the comment. So any child, 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, Saturday, 7 a.m., whenever they decide to look at their grades, they can just click. And when they click view, that's the assignment. They had a quiz to do, they had a typed essay, and they would get 5 bonus points. And this stays available to kids 24/7 because middle schoolers do not sleep. All right, and I'm going to keep moving. Again, we did the collaboration piece in Nearpod. That's a great way to foster togetherness within the group, even though we're apart. And just like you got to see your teacher responses, these are responses from my students. And that is a wrap, folks. Again, thank you for joining me. My contact information is here. If I can be of service, please reach out to me and let me know. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ms. Holland.
Thank you so much, Ms. Darden, for sharing your resources with us. If you would please, thank you. We're going to turn it over to Ms. Wilmoth. And Ms. Darden, if you'll stop sharing your screen. So Ms. Wilmoth is able to share hers. Thank you. Ms. Wilmoth is one of our Onslow County Schools AIG specialists, currently serving Swansboro Middle School and Newbridge Middle School.
All right, thanks, Ms. Holland. As Ms. Holland said, I'm an AIG specialist at Swansboro Middle and Newbridge Middle. It's my first year in that position, so it's been very exciting and a learning experience for myself. So I have had to learn how to communicate with kids much differently than I would if I was an actual classroom teacher. So just a couple of things that I've been doing to serve my students during this time. To focus on their social and emotional needs, especially with this group of students, I've used Microsoft Teams a lot to communicate with my kids, not only just within my team in itself, but also in their classes. So in my team, I provide challenges for them to do. I have given them different scavenger hunts that they could do, different enrichment activities that's based on their content that I provided for them to do outside of class. And then also have encouraged them to read and respond to some current events that have been happening and kind of reflect and let me know how they're feeling about what's going on currently in their situation. And then I also attend their classes online. So I do help the teachers. I moderate comments. I talk to them in the comment section. And give praise when they are participating in the lesson, or when they give answers, or just giving them a thumbs up if they did something correctly. And then also I try to help out with, like, if I see a group of students participating frequently, or just students being good leaders within the chat, within the actual class, then I also like to give out those praise awards that are located in Teams. So one of the big things that I did provide for my students was a coloring curiosity challenge. So they were given a color template, and then they were asked to find items around their house or outside, and then they would take pictures and kind of just post it in the column that it matched up. So some of them that I received had kind of like a common theme, so you could kind of see how they were feeling based on the theme of their pictures. So this was just two examples of work that I had received from my students. So it was interesting to see what they thought would go in the color column, and just kind of like what they used around their house, or maybe what they thought was important. Another thing that I've been doing is a historical scavenger hunt around Onslow County. I call it Where's Wilmeth. It's kind of like my play on Where's Waldo. So it's been fun, not only for myself, but for my kids. But I post a new one every week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, and they have to guess where I am in Onslow County. So so far we've done 5, and I post a video on Flipgrid, and then I have them comment here at the bottom. So here's an example of the very first one. Hey guys, the first stop on Where's Wilmeth, attraction 1, is this picture right here. It was built in 1880 and used until the 1920s, and it's been 133 years since the doors were opened. Where do you think I am? Post your response below using the whiteboard feature, or actually go there and take a picture and upload. All right, so let me see if I can get back to my PowerPoint. There we go. So that's been really fun to see them and what their thoughts were as to where I was at the point of time, and to see what their guesses are, and just to kind of engage them in their surroundings and take them outside of their house and into the actual county and places that they might not have seen or might not have heard about. So it's been a really fun experience to see what their guesses were. I also do current events reflections. I find some articles on News ELA that kind of relate to, what's going on right now. So one of them was, the very first one was Flattening the Curve. And it was an article from News ELA. And then I just kind of had them read through the article, ask them some questions, and then I wanted to know what their take was on the article itself. So a lot of them, there was a lot of reflection of, like, particularly in this one with COVID, like what it is and how they can help stop it, and what are they doing as their part to help with stopping the virus. So I'm able to see their faces with their Flipgrid responses, but also kind of see how they're feeling and what their take is on the situation that we're in society and in the world right now. So other ways that I stay connected, I've done CSI investigations with content specific standards, and I've also created digital breakouts for them to do. I attend their online classes, so I'm co-teaching with their teachers, and then also helping monitor the chat and work through any technology issues that they might have. I also, through my AIG team, I communicate with them with different reminders or just check-ins with them to see how they're doing, and then do those praise awards in teams. So from my perspective, it's a little bit different because I am a specialist, so I'm not teaching every day to the same group of students every day. I have over 200 kids. So I try to just make sure that I'm reaching out to them through emails or through comments in the chats in their classes, or just through our team to just check in, see how they're doing, how I can help them academically, emotionally, any of those things to help them through this difficult time. So that is all I've got. Thank you, Ms. Holland.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wilmoth. Those are some great strategies, especially for using Flipgrid for anyone who needs to see their students' faces. So our next presenter that we're going to kick it over to is Ms. Crystal Miller, and she is joining us from Queens Creek Elementary School, where she teaches 3rd grade ELA and social studies.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. I am so thankful to have this opportunity. So yes, I'm a 3rd grade teacher and at Queens Creek Elementary School. And one thing I wanted to say is, like, through this virtual learning, I really wanted to start out with this. There are so many amazing kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade teachers out there really working so hard that might not be able to get the kind of recognition that we might have, like having these one-to-one devices. So thank you so much to all the K2 teachers like across Onslow County. So if you want to thank a K2 teacher, please click a heart or a thumbs up on the chat. So thank you so much, K2 teachers. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quickly with you guys. I just had to give a shout out to them because, you know, working with them, I was K2 for 9 years, and this is my 1st year in 3rd grade. So kind of seeing what it's like, it's opened my eyes a lot. So I'm going to start with, me and Miss Bell. I am a ELA and social studies teacher. So last week, Miss Bell was able to share her stories on connecting with the instructional frameworks and like culture. So thank you so much for Ms. Bell and all of my 3rd grade team for really working together. So we'll start by saying, like, what social and emotional challenges are educators and their teachers facing during this time? You know, so not only our students, but, you know, kind of like what other teachers have been sharing, you know, educators are as well. I know I've all felt some of these things as well during this time. So using our communication to really connect with these students is so vital at this time to kind of understand where they're coming from. Being an Onslow County school educator for the past 8 years has been amazing, and I've continuously learned more each year, but something that I've always remembered was these 4 C's, you know, consistency, connection, compassion, and critical thinking. When we really apply these to our daily learning, you know, there's something amazing that happens is that next C word, you know, confidence. Confidence is a great thing for anybody, you know, any child, any adult, and really giving the students, you know, daily routines, the consistency, connecting with them, showing them through compassion that they care, and also throwing in that critical thinking. You know, we're able to create these capable, really capable human beings through these heart-to-heart dialogues we're having. My students, we have a class hashtag. So something fun that we like to do is, you know, say, oh yeah. And so I always do this in the beginning of the year, but that way they're able to really encourage one another. So if somebody clips up or does something good, you know, the students are able to say like, oh yeah, it's something really short and sweet, but the students like catch on to it. And even now during our virtual chats, you know, if someone does something good, it's a quick, oh yeah, in the chat, but we know that, you know, that's just us encouraging one another. So really, you know, showing that we're all different, but we can all achieve, you know, greatness. So getting my feet wet kind of in teams, I was honestly nervous. I was like, how in the world am I going to do this? This is my first year with computers and laptops. I felt so K2 based that I had to, you know, kind of build my own confidence with this. So the first thing that I learned how to do was to create like a daily announcement. Our amazing digital learning facilitator, Kelly Mitchell, was having these 3-5 and like K2 and 3-5 meets where we were sharing best practices and just giving us a floor for us teachers to really share what we're doing, what's working, what's not. And it's through these meetings I had that I learned about the daily announcement. This was obviously on May the 4th, so a special day for me, being, you know, a huge Star Wars nerd. But here is just an example of something that I would put for the students. So just a daily announcement. It says what they're going to need for the day. It says what we're doing exactly for the day. So then it gives the kids another, it gives them some accountability. So if, you know, Susie wasn't here today, let's say, if she wasn't here today, then I would say, you know, go check our daily announcement and see what you might have missed. And, you know, it's just a way for students to know kind of what's expected. And so each morning they kind of know. And then I'll say, once you've read this, go ahead and like it at the top. So it's just a way to kind of get the day ahead of you right there on paper. The kids know exactly what to expect. Once my confidence really rose, I was then learned how to create these private channels through Teams. I did a poll, and so here I created a poll question. And so here's the student, and I just said, hey, good morning. I saw in a poll you were sad and wanted to talk, because I had said, like, how are we feeling today? And so here he had just told me in this, I told him, you know, this is a private chat, only you and I can read this. And so he really told me how he felt. And, you know, said he was really nervous, he missed class. So here I was able to see, you know, where my student was feeling. And just like we were saying, it's hard not to, you know, when we can catch them in the walking down the hallway sometimes. They're not even in our rooms. And we can kind of say, oh, I know this kid's off. So here, having this private channel, I was able to really have a one-on-one I felt like it was heartfelt, you know, communication with this child. And I told him, you know, even I had faced some challenging times during this time. And like, this is what I do. So, you know, really making him feel like I cared about his feelings and that his feelings matter, because they really, you know, they really do. Again, as my confidence grew, I continued to kind of research Microsoft Office, Microsoft Teams, all of the things that our county has to offer. And so while going through Microsoft Education, I found this check-in form. So the form was already completed. You know, it just said, click here to duplicate it. So I clicked it, and I'm going to click it real quick. And like we've been saying, like, keep it simple. Keep it simple. It's just 3 questions. It's 3 questions. So it says, how are things going? So far my day is thumbs up, okay, or thumbs down. It has, how are you feeling? All of these, you know, emojis and little descriptions. And then why do you feel this way? So I started doing this with the students every Thursday to really try to connect with them on a level like, maybe they don't know how to tell me they're having a difficult time, but here, you know, it was a private way. I was able to put it out there and to really hear from the students. A lot of them were doing good, but some of them were not doing okay. And so that, you know, continued to propel my learning, continued to say, like, you know, we're all really doing this together. So our amazing school, Queens Creek Elementary, has decided to do this thing called Flex Friday. But in me and Miss Bell's class, it's called Friday always. So here, you know, Friday is a day where we're able to pull small groups. We're able to kind of wrap up the week and do some reflection. Students work on iReady if they haven't completed quite their 45 minutes. So Miss Bell and I have a team together my homeroom and her homeroom. And so every Friday we meet in this team together. The kids get to see me and Miss Bell. It's lots of fun. We're doing lots of, oh yes. You know, the kids just want to unmute themselves. So if you give them a floor and like the time and place to do it, and do it with consistency, you know, with that compassion, the students really, I feel like, feel that. But back to Flex Friday, here I was able to put a time slot. So all of those, the Thoughtful Thursday form, like the student check-in forms, after I read all of them Thursday, I had a little time slot right here to really call the students. And it's nothing like, you know, crazy. I was like, hey, like, what's up? Sometimes they just want to talk. Like this one kid told me about, you know, his dad's birthday. Like, so giving the kids the opportunity to speak. And also Mr. Barnes, our AIG specialist, works in here too and pulls some ELA and math groups here. So we're really working with lots of people to help. But this has also given us a time and a place to really, you know, meet and speak with these students. And lastly, what I have is fun. So fun is allowed. So I've always said, even in the classroom, there should be a time and a place for fun and, you know, education. So what I've done here is, this is like my team and then some of my private channels. I've created a private channel for third grade jokes. This is something I had started in the classroom. I'm just a big, you know, nerd, and I love like a popsicle joke. And so my students were always excited to tell me jokes. And so I was like, I can't remember these answers. So we started a composition notebook that all the kids could we put it in the front of the classroom, and the kids could just, you know, hey, can I write a joke in that? And they knew the appropriate time to do it. So here I wanted to kind of bring that virtually. And so I made a private channel for the students to add their jokes. And so they do it, you know, pretty appropriately, and they're all funny, but this is just giving them an outlet or an opportunity, you know, to really connect with their classmates. I did the emoji, the Flat Mrs. Kreiner project. So I'm kind of working on my Twitter game, getting better with Twitter, encouraged by my, you know, fellow educators. But here are two pictures that I got from students from my Flat Stanley. And lastly is the Polar Cam. So this is something that the Polar Bear Cam, San Diego Live Cam has amazing live cams for animals that you can go to. And the students love this. They love clicking on it and watching the animals. So this is something that we might do at the end of class or the beginning of class. And one more last thing is the virtual calming room. So our amazing psychologist sent this out to us. And so this is just a website that the kids can go to, and they can click on things, and it will like bring them to different areas where they can really calm down and relax. So I've also posted this in our teams at the top where students can easily access this. So being a third grade teacher, you know, right now is an adventure, and I love it. So I'm getting used to it and working on it. So if you guys have any questions or anything, I'd love to share or answer, but that's all I have today. So thank you so much again for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Miss Miller. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you will go ahead and stop sharing your screen, and our next presenter is going to be Mrs. Heather Bennett Hart, and she is joining us from Northwoods Elementary School, where she teaches 4th grade.
Thank you, Miss Holland. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into sharing my screen. And to Miss Miller, I love that you call it Fridays, because my kids know that we call it Fridays as well. So I loved how you had that. So I'm Heather Bennett Hart. I'm a first-year 4th grade teacher at Northwoods Elementary. And I wanted to refer to this first. We've been kind of finishing up on a book study that we've been doing as a school. It's called Poor Students, Rich Teaching by Eric Jensen. And I found this really awesome and significant quote that kind of related to what I've been doing. And it says, "When students have a voice in class, they feel heard and validated. Having a voice and being listened to are essential human needs. Humans have expressed their voice through cave art, gestures, writing, art, voting, music, and action groups. Voice gives all of us a feeling of being important, appreciated, honored, and respected. And so in my classroom, before all of this digital teaching and distance learning happened, we used to do a morning circle where we would start our day off by saying good morning to each other and kind of give a game plan of what the day is going to look like. And then at the end of the day, we would have a closing circle where we would talk about things that went well and things that did not go so well and how we can be better for the next day. And so I really missed that, and I wanted to bring that into my digital learning. And this actually occurred to me randomly about 5 minutes before my last class of the week, where I literally threw my lesson plan out the window and said, no, I think my kids really need this. This is way more important. So I created a closing circle channel on my teams. And so during the last live lesson on Fridays, we have a closing circle where students can have an open dialogue with me where they can just kind of just talk it out. And, you know, they miss their classmates. They miss being in the classroom, hanging out with each other. And I wanted to give them a time where they could just talk and they can just talk about what they've been doing, their favorite video games, maybe stuff that's going on in their lives that they haven't been able to share with someone. And I also open it up to allowing kids to be like, hey, Mrs. Bennett Hart, can I meet with you after this and we can talk? And I will pull them for a meet now after the end of the closing circle. So I'm just going to give you kind of a glimpse of what my Friday closing circle looks like. First, we do a show and tell using Flipgrid. I actually got this suggestion from a parent who messaged me on Dojo and said, so-and-so really misses doing this. Can we somehow do it through the whole digital teaching? And I was like, of course, I will make it happen. So I usually leave enough time for 3 to 4 students to share, and then students can use the raise your hand feature on Teams to ask questions about what the student shared. And then it gives kind of the student who shared ownership of the team or the team's meeting for them being able to call on the students who are raising their hands. So it kind of makes them feel important and kind of cool being able to be like, oh, so-and-so is raising their hand. What do you need to ask? And so I included a little clip of one of my students who did a little show and tell for us.
See, this is what I'm doing for show and tell. Has longer than I had life already. Mom got it before I was born.
And also, I only share out the code to the parents through Dojo, or I'll send it to a kid via email because I don't want all the kids posting on our show and tell channel, and then you have to kind of search for them. So it's kind of like a private thing until we release it to the students. And it's a great way for them to get to finally see each other because we can't share our cameras. Next, we draw our lucky raffle winner. So again, I was trying to come up with a way to get my kids to want to come to class and want to participate and do some fun things. And so I ended up coming up with themed raffles. So our first theme, we had a cake week where we did everything related to cake. So we had a cake raffle. Then we had an Avid Spirit Week. So we had an Avid raffle. And so each week, students can earn raffle tickets by either attending sessions, completing assignments, participating in class, helping other students during live lessons or on the Teams channels, and for completing their iReady minutes or lessons. So even if because I told my kids, I understand, you know, life happens. You can't always get to the live lessons, but if you're doing the work and I'm seeing it, then you deserve to be rewarded for it. And so I actually recorded last week us drawing the raffle, and the kids did a little virtual drum roll, which I thought was super fun.
All right, do your drum roll. Oh, I lost one. All right, I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna pull a name out. I have a name. I'm gonna move my bowl, and the lucky winner is.
I get super excited for things, so sorry for that in there. And so what do the raffle winners win? Well, each raffle winner wins a small little gift personally picked by me, and the gift is mailed to the student with a personal little card written for them. And a couple of people are like, well, isn't that costing a lot of money? And I actually weighed it out because when I was in the classroom, my kids worked in their own little table groups to work together to earn prizes at the end of the week. And I had like a little store of little knickknacks in it that I would buy and collect for the kids. And so I kind of used what I had in there, as well as you can go to the dollar bin at Target and you can find stuff that kids just love. And so that's what I've been doing. And I know that, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sitting at home ordering stuff off of Amazon to excite me. So when it comes in the mail, I get really excited. So I know the kids get super excited when these packages come for them. And so I have a little note from a parent who sent me the picture of her daughter who said, good morning. The student got her package in the mail yesterday. She was totally freaking out and loved everything in it. Thank you again for everything. And I put a picture of what the little packages look like, although it's a little blurry, so I'm sorry about that. And then a parent sent me the raffle winner from last week's video a couple of days ago, so I wanted to share that with you guys.
Why is this so late?
Where's your mom?
And then the last thing we do before we end our closing circle is I leave enough time for student feedback. So for the remainder of the class time, students are encouraged to give suggestions on how to make digital learning more fun or engaging, things they liked or didn't like from the week, and to share some of their own personal experiences with the class. Obviously, I have students who are like, well, can we have less work? And I'm like, well, I'm already giving you as much as I'm allowed to. Like, I want you guys to do well. And so obviously we have to, accommodate. But some suggestions that students have made so far was having class outside, so hosting science classes outside because we went outside one other time and they really thought that was cool. Some students have given suggestions for our writing prompts. Each week, my fourth graders write how I survived the 2020 pandemic based off of the I Survived book. So they were giving suggestions on different things to add to those prompts. And raffle themes. So I love getting a good idea for a raffle theme that I can build my lessons upon. Some other things that students have shared has been a new baby brother's being born. We had a student who lost their lifelong animal friend, which broke my heart. And some kids just being excited about getting a desk for their digital learning. So they were super pumped being able to share that. And I was fortunate enough to be able to grab a snippet of my closing circle from last week where a student suggested doing riddles. So I included this to share.
I have a suggestion for what we could do for closing circle.
Oh, okay, I'm listening.
Ready? I was wondering if we could do like little riddles at the end, like a riddle.
Okay. And do you want it to be like solve this riddle by the next closing circle, or do you want me to start the closing circle with a riddle and then give you guys the answer at the end of the closing circle?
By next closing circle.
Okay, I love riddles, so I'm totally down with this. So that was just a fun suggestion that I'm going to start this closing or tomorrow for closing circle. And I even had some people I posted on Facebook like, give me some good riddles to share with the kids, and I've gotten some really awesome ones, so I'm excited. So that's basically what I've been doing in my classroom, and I've noticed that having that feedback and having that time to let the kids talk has not only made it easier for me to see how my kids are doing, but also it's made them more excited to come to class because they're able to have that kind of light at the end of the tunnel where they get to have a chance to talk and just explore with each other. So I also included my Twitter if you want to follow what a first year teacher's classroom's been looking like before we went into a whole teaching at home. And there's my email if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Miss Bennett Hart. We have one final presenter today. We know that we're running a little past the 4 o'clock time, so if you can stay with us, we love to have you as long as possible. But our final presenter is Miss Hallie Moritz, and she is a visual arts teacher at Swansboro High School.
Hi. So I'm a first-year teacher at, well, not a first-year high school teacher at Swansboro High School, and I teach art. So I'll jump into my screen. Okay, so this is a little blurb about me. This is just something that I have always sort of taught in my classroom, but didn't really know there was a name for it. So social and emotional learning has been something I've strived for every day in the classroom. Every day I strive to help my students with an academic level and on a personal level. I believe with the right mindset, students can accomplish all goals that they set for themselves, and with the help of a great teacher like myself, they can set goals that are achievable and beneficial to their learning. And I don't mean just learning in the visual arts classroom. I also mean learning in all of their classes, because I believe that art encompasses all types of learning. So I think as teachers, we have a duty to our students, and that's developing a knowledge and informing information to grow and learn, be role models to help them relate and understand things are possible. So I have struggled with this during quarantine myself, but I've tried to motivate my kids by showing them what art I'm creating, letting them see that I'm, building a garden, and that I'm trying to find creativity in everything that I'm doing here at home, because it is a struggle. It's completely different than being in the classroom, and helping them to explore what is truly what they believe in. And a lot of my advanced level kids have really sort of fostered in this during this quarantine time. They've been stuck in a house with just themselves, and you'll see some artist blocks happen, and you'll also see some amazing things happen in these next couple slides I'm about to show you, and help to shape their mindset and vision of their goals, and then find their voice, and most importantly, how they apply their voice and express themselves. So I have a couple seniors this year, and I'm so sad that I'm not going to get to see them and some of the work that they've created during this quarantine, but they've done some great stuff, and you're going to get to see one of them in just a few minutes. So this is a video from my Flipgrids. So just like Ms. Norman was saying, we love to see our kids face to face. So for my advanced level kids and some of my beginning level kids, I've set up Flipgrids to where they can talk to me about their art, talk to their fellow peers about their art. I let them sort of get to view each other's and just see how each student is taking on what's happening.
Hey everyone, just wanted to come on here and show you all how I've been dealing with staying creative while having art block during all this quarantine. So yeah, it's true. I haven't made a lot of art, and it's disappointing because this is the perfect time to be doing art. We're all at home and we all have the time. But I just haven't felt it, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So I have focused on a different medium, writing.
So I'll stop it here. I just kind of wanted you to see that I'm encouraging all sort of types of art to happen in the classroom, including writing and not just art. And this student, she goes on to talk about how she created this sort of set between her and her friends where they kind of talk back and forth, almost like a comic book, and then they kind of come up with characters, and she draws the characters later, and it's just, I've gotten to be a part of this whole fostering of this new sort of comic book that they're coming up with as a group, and it's been great. Let's see. So each week I send out a newsletter to my parents. Each month I send out a newsletter to my parents, and I feature all-star artists, where I got to just kind of congratulate kids that are really going above and beyond. I make sure that I let all of my students know that they're doing a great job, but those students who really continue to stay creative and take it a little step further, I like to sort of show them off in my artist newsletters. And then over here I have a vibes check. So Miss Cameron Hansen, who's at Swansboro High School with us, she is the chorus teacher and piano teacher. She sent out this forums to all of us and shared it with us, and it's a lot like the one that Miss Miller had posted, except it's a little more on like a high school level basis. It's like, honestly, how are you feeling? And it goes from great to bored to scared to missing my friends to not wanting to be at home and thinking it's terrible. And then it has common feelings. So how many different feelings have you been feeling during it? Experience of, how work at home has been. And then suggestions for the teacher. And on the next slide, I'm going to see some of those. Let's see. So what's been the hardest? Because I'm not in school, there's no motivation is what a lot of the kids said. Some of the positives, one of the students got to see her dad, and it really, kind of struck home for her. Assignment suggestions, live Pictionary. I thought that was really fun, especially for the arts classroom. Going outside and enjoying. So I took some of these in consideration. And I attempted to sort of start planning this into my courses now and later. So I've kind of shifted to like a student-based learning in the art classroom. So my beginning levels, I've given them more options. So a lot of the students were struggling drawing by themselves and painting by themselves. So I gave them more options of taking photographs, writing reflection essays, writing raps. I actually had a student send me a video of a rap that they created. Flipgrid videos and discussions on artwork. Different choices of medium. So we've talked from painting with coffee to painting on cardboard, to creating sculptures out of ceramic cups, because I teach a ceramics class, which is very difficult to teach far away from home. Far away from school. What else have we done? And then my advanced level, I gave them sort of different prompts and let them sort of run with it. So these are the 10 prompts I prompted them with. And you're going to get to see one of the students who focused on unexpected beauty in just a minute. And these are some of the ways I've incorporated these different things in their learning. I gave them some choice boards where they got to complete tic-tac-toe, or they could play bingo. There's a whole bunch of fun things that go into those. There's some drawing things. There are some photography things. There's taking a break and doodling. There's self-relaxation, there's meditation, just different ways for kids to take a step out of the, outside of where they are and what they're doing, and sort of step back into their creative mindset that we have in the classroom. So I'll be sharing some of Audrey Burns' work and videos that she has shared and posted to me. So I'm going to show you, this is the very first video she posted. It's about her mind map, but I want you to kind of look at how joyful and fun she is. She's sort of dancing in the video.
Hello guys, how's your day going? Hope it's going good. I'm going to be talking about my mind map.
Okay, so
hello guys.
That's a little brief.
How's your day going?
I'll give you that. She's really excited here. She was excited to start planning this, excited to start showing off her sketchbook. She goes on to talk about, her next couple projects and what she's going to do, and she's really motivated in this first video that she posts. So here you can kind of see her brainstorming that she talks about. She focuses on unexpected beauty. So given these prompts, these kids can kind of come up with whatever they want to focus on. So these are her actual words from her PowerPoint she sent me. So along with a Flipgrid, they can submit in all different types of ways. If they wanted to just send pictures, if they wanted to do an actual live meeting with me, if they wanted to post a Flipgrid video, I give them a lot of options to show me how they're doing their work. So over there on the side, you can see as she sort of doodles and starts working on her next project. She posted this. I tried to think of anything that was unexpected beauty. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be, so I even posted it on Instagram so I could get other ideas from people. I did decide that my main focus was going to be on people. In the next slide, I will show you more. So she continues on and shows you different things that she's posted. Here she's gonna, let's see, briefly talk about what she's gonna do.
Hello, fellow art students. So today I'm going to be talking about my first assignment that I've done since doing virtual school. So I'm going to talk about unexpected beauty. So I've already talked about this a little bit in my last video, but I would love to continue talking about it because this is actually one of the toughest projects that I've done this semester. So this is my brainstorming. So a few things that I put down is no hair, acne, diseases, stretch marks, body types, survivors, abandoned places, plastic in the ocean, and so on. So what I chose was stretch marks. Some people.
So Audrey is she's just an amazing student. She likes to motivate other students, and they get to have conversations about their artwork and the way they interpret the different things and the different projects and how each one means something different to each child. And she has a different conversation with another one of the students who also focused on unexpected beauty and who focused on flowers, and you get to see sort of their interaction between the two. Even though we're outside the classroom, they're still learning and growing from each other using these Flipgrid videos, which I thought was really inspiring. So here Audrey goes on to talk about her second piece, and this would be her next piece. And here you can kind of see she's starting to lose her motivation in her project.
Hi, fellow art students. So today I'm going to be talking about my second sketchbook that I have semi-completed for virtual school. It is not complete, but I have started.
So here you start seeing a lot of my kids start to lose motivation. Audrey wasn't the only one, so we kind of switched things up. And in the next project, we start talking about ways to sort of get back into creativity. And then this is where she sort of finds her spark again. And she wanted to send this out to all of her fellow classmates. She talks about unexpected beauty being different in how everybody's personality as an individual is expressed. She talks about how social media and technology can have a negative impact on your view in life. And she believes that kids her age can be addicted to their self-image and portraying how they are on social media. And the previous slide was sort of her conceptualizing this. So this blue haze in the background is supposed to be sort of technology, sort of coming over all these people and how they all kind of look the same, but she spoke out and said that this is how she sees herself, as this colorful individual, and how she wants to sort of make other people shine. And it's a really inspiring little video, and a lot of her classmates reacted and gave her some different feedback on it. It was really nice to see their interactions together. I wish I could post those. And this is where spring break happens.
Hello, fellow art students. So today is April the 24th. This is the last day to upload sketchbook number 4. We just got off spring break, so I have done no art whatsoever because I need to give my brain a break. So
that's where Audrey just falls off. But at the very end of the video, she posts this image that you see to the left, and that was what inspired her next few projects. So she had fallen into this slump and wasn't creating anything, was completely honest with her classmates, completely honest with me, and had lost motivation. But she starts posting these videos where she creates for herself. And this is the last video I will make you guys watch. But this one sort of talks about how she changed her mindset.
hello, fellow art students. So today is April the 30th, 2020. It is a Thursday, so everything that I'm supposed to be doing is due tomorrow. We have to write 2 free writings, and I decided to paint a turtle. This was outside, and it was pale and disgusting. And when I mean it was disgusting, it was nasty. Like, didn't paint the bottom just so I could show you guys. That's the color, and this is what I painted it. I don't know, it gives it dinosaur vibes. Yeah.
Okay, so in that video, you see that Audrey sort of has changed everything around. This is after I've posted some videos of, how to stay creative, how to change your mindset while you're in quarantine. And this is the last video that she posted, and Audrey, you took my suggestions. So in this video, She talks about how she's completely rearranged her whole bedroom. She's created 5 to 6 new projects. She's looked up YouTube videos on Shrinky Dinks, Melty Beads, jewelry. She's given us a sneak peek into her new collection, and she's just super excited. So throughout quarantine, I've gotten to watch all of my students sort of grow emotionally and how this has sort of changed their mindsets. And I've grown as a teacher too, but making sure that we keep them emotionally connected and aware that we're there for them, and just to see that there's a perspective outside of themselves. So getting to see that there are other students that are struggling with the same things that they are, and setting these goals is going to really help them plan for their future and develop self-motivation, and taking responsibility for work still while they're outside of class has been a big improvement and a big struggle at the same time. But I think getting to see their peers and watching these videos has really helped. So I hope that my presentation was good for you. Let's see, stop sharing my screen. Okay. And you get to see how I do it in my art classroom.
Thank you so much, Ms. Moritz, and a huge thank you again to each and every one of our presenters today. If you are looking for more social and emotional learning strategies, be sure to check out next week on Twitter. There will be a hashtag MSFT EduChat on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. One of our Onslow County DLTFs, Gretchen Robinson, will be a co-host during that tweet meet. So if you are on Twitter, check that out. But right now we are going to open this up. If any of you have any questions for any of our presenters, please feel free to unmute your mic and ask. And if you have no questions, thank you so much for joining us.